Welcome everyone to our wellness chat. Today we are going to be talking about the benefits of cardio exercise. So we're going to learn all about cardio exercise, what it is, and how you can get started. And at the end, we'll have some questions, or if you have any questions, I'll be answering, and we'll go from there. So what is cardio exercise? Cardiorespiratory exercise, sometimes also referred to as cardiovascular exercise, also sometimes referred to as aerobic exercise, is any rhythmic activity that raises your heart rate into your target heart rate zone. By nature, cardio exercise is also aerobic, as any exercise that raises the heart will also raise respiration rate. So just a quick little note, aerobic exercise specifically means exercise that involves a lot of like breathing, a lot of respiration that gets your lungs working. Cardio, though, specifically, that term cardio specifically relates to the heart and getting that heart rate up. But by nature, if your heart rate's going up, then you're gonna have to breathe faster because your muscles are using up oxygen, and so your lungs, will require more oxygen to be circulated in the body. But the goal is to raise your heart rate. And we do cardio exercise, and it's really important to improve your endurance, stamina, and your heart health. So, having a healthy heart, but also it helps you just feel more, be able to last longer through the day, feel more energized, be able to do more activities. So a lot of benefits. Cardio exercise is sometimes, actually, when people just refer to exercise, they're often thinking about cardio exercise. It's kind of really, really important and really encompasses the majority of the exercises people do. So we're going to go a little into the science of it, like what happens during cardio exercise that makes it so beneficial. So cardio exercises specifically target the heart and lung efficiency. You're able to improve the efficiency for a number of reasons. One, we have cardiac hypertrophy, which we're going to be talking about actually each of these points, so I'll list them really quick. So cardiac hypertrophy occurs during cardio exercise, increased stroke volume of your heart, lowered resting heart rate, improved capillarization of the skeletal muscles and alveoli, lowered blood pressure, decreased heart rate recovery time, and increased blood volume. So these are all physiological changes that occur with cardio activity. So cardiac hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is the increase in size of the sarcomere of a muscle fiber. In other words, the increase in size of muscles, and your heart is a muscle. It's a specialized type of muscle. And it undergoes hypertrophy in adaptation to exercise. So when you're walking consistently or swimming, your heart is beating faster, and that's causing the muscle tissue of the heart to get thicker and stronger. The left ventricle of the heart, and if you can see my mouse, this is the left ventricle. It's that lower left quadrant of the heart. On the image, it's on the right side, but that's because it's as if you're looking at the heart. But that's the left ventricle. In particular, increases in strength potential of its contraction. So there's a lot of, as you get stronger, this portion around the ventricle really gets strong, and it's able to generate a lot more force to pump that blood throughout the body. All right, so the next thing that happens physiologically with cardio exercise is increased stroke volume. So stroke volume is the amount of blood pumped from the left ventricle of the heart in one contraction. So it's basically the volume of blood that you're ultimately able to pump throughout the body in one contraction. It's related to contractile force of the cardiac muscle. And this graph kind of shows the difference between someone that doesn't really do a whole lot of cardio activity versus someone that does. And there's pretty big difference. If you're untrained, 50 to 70 milliliters at rest, that's how much your heart is pumping. If you're trained, I mean, you're almost doubling. You're 90 to 110 milliliters, and that's just your heart at rest. When you're exercising, your heart naturally has to increase stroke volume to get blood to the muscles. So it does increase for an untrained person, but if you're trained, it's even more efficient. You can get up to 180 milliliters of blood pumped in one contraction, which is a lot. And so you become more efficient. It highlights the efficiency of your heart. Other things that occur, lowered resting heart rate. So I don't know how many of you know your resting heart rate, but you know, the average person, the average American it's probably around 70 to 80 resting heart rate. Generally, more trained people can be below 60. I will tell you, actually, I do a lot of running. I've been a runner most of my life. My resting heart rate is about 43. So it really, you know, your resting heart rate will go down. And the reason why this is the case is that your cardiac output, which is like your overall output of your heart, is your stroke volume that we just talked about times your heart rate. And since cardiac output remains the same, like your heart always has to output the same amount in order to reach all the organs and muscles. If your stroke volume is increasing, then your heart rate is able to decrease. So as we talked about, as you do cardio exercise, stroke volume increases, and therefore your heart rate is able to decrease. And so, again, highlighting that efficiency of your heart. And some like famous, you know, like Olympians, you know, people that do a lot of running or biking, often their heart rate can be in the low 40s to 30s. I think Lance Armstrong, his heart rate was like registered at around 31 or something at rest. So, which is like half the normal rate of a person. So again, just kind of highlighting cardio exercise and its efficiency on the heart. Other things that happen during your cardio activity, improved capillarization of the muscles and alveoli. So capillaries are the smallest, most numerous blood vessels where exchange of materials between blood and tissue occur. So capillaries basically are where the transfer, where your blood is transferred, you know, to your muscles and organs. And basically there's that exchange of fresh oxygenated blood, and then the blood that, you know, is depleted of oxygen also transfers back. So it can be sent back to the lungs. But basically, as you're doing your cardio exercise, you actually develop more capillaries, more blood vessels around your muscles and organs. And that, again, will improve your efficiency of getting nutrients and oxygen throughout the body. This also helps with improving your glucose or blood sugar metabolism. So, you know, if you have diabetes or, you know, you want to manage your blood sugar better, cardio activity will help you better manage that. You have more capillaries, more opportunity for that blood sugar to be absorbed and used elsewhere. And then one other note on this, alveoli, those are basically the air sacs in your lungs. That's where oxygen basically is stored. Those also get more capillaries. So therefore you're able to get more oxygen out of the lungs more effectively and therefore transfer it throughout the body. So again, the cardio activity is increasing these blood vessels throughout the body, making you a lot more efficient in circulation of nutrients. Another thing with cardio activity, your blood pressure generally tends to lower at least a little bit. During the first few weeks of activity, in fact, your blood pressure can lower significantly. And this is likely, it's not quite understood the mechanism, but the decrease in blood pressure is likely due to long-term vessel relaxation. So when you're, you know, doing activity, a lot of cardio activity, your stroke volume's increasing, and that's forcing more blood, you know, through your blood vessels, causing some expansion. And it just allows for things not to be quite as rigid, it allows your blood vessels to be a little more flexible, and that will decrease your blood pressure. You can get a decrease of around 2% in the systolic, that's the top number, and up to 4% diastolic. So of course, very important. Another thing to note that if you already have low blood pressure, cardio activity will not make it even lower. It'll generally actually bring you to a healthy range, somewhere that is effective for your body. So you'll never like completely lose your blood pressure unless there's other health conditions. And another thing is the decrease in heart rate recovery time. So a longer recovery time actually has been associated with low fitness and has even been linked as a predictor of mortality. Recovery time specifically is how long it takes for your heart rate, so you have a resting heart rate and then you exercise, your heart rate goes up and it's up at that level. Once you stop exercising, recovery time is how long it takes to go from that high heart rate level from exercise down back to your normal resting heart rate. And the shorter that time is, the better. So if you regularly do cardio activity, that'll actually shorten your recovery time. And you can kind of see in this graph here, you have an unfit person, someone that doesn't do a whole lot of cardio, they have a pretty long recovery time after their exercise. For the fit person, much shorter. It's almost half, right? So that's really important. And this has been studied, like in longitudinal studies. They actually show that people who have shorter recovery times live a lot longer. They have a much a better rate of survival in general. And finally, the last one is increase in blood volume. So one final thing that happens when you do cardio activity is blood volume increases. Blood volume represents the amount of blood circulating in your body. And how this happens, first, the blood plasma, which is like the most numerous, like the liquid part of your blood, increases because exercise actually promotes water retention by the kidneys. So when you actually exercise regularly, generally you don't have to actually use the restroom as much because your kidneys actually will retain more water because it knows that you'll probably need it to stay hydrated while you're keeping active. And so that will increase blood volume. Also, cardio activity increases your red blood cell count because of the hormone EPO, which stimulates red blood cell production in the bone marrow. So you actually get an overall volume of blood, and when there's more blood in the body and more blood cells, it's just a much better, more efficient circulation through the body. Like we've kind of mentioned, organs and muscles are going to be getting the nutrients they need a lot more effectively. So you can see just by kind of the science of cardio activity, you can see why there's such a benefit on the heart and lungs and really the whole body because of that circulation. And so there's, of course, numerous benefits that come with cardio training. Current research has demonstrated that cardio training has a myriad of benefits for the cardiovascular system, metabolism, musculoskeletal system, mental function, and beyond. So some of the more notable benefits: improves cardiovascular health, which is obvious. That's your heart and your whole vascular system, the arteries and blood pressure and everything. It reduces your risk of heart attack, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, and some forms of cancer. So it's a really big disease prevention activity. It also should be noted that with most of those conditions, it also helps manage them. So if you have high blood pressure, like we talked about, cardio activity can actually help you lower that blood pressure. Or if you have diabetes, it can help you manage your diabetes. It burns fat and calories and helps you regulate weight. It regulates your blood sugar. It improves brain health. It enhances sleep quality, expands lung capacity, helps manage stress, strengthens the immune system, and improves confidence and mood while reducing depression and anxiety. So many benefits. So why really everyone should be doing cardio activity, and why oftentimes when people refer to exercise, they're typically referring to cardio exercise because it's really important. Some quick notes just on doing cardio training, some of the basic principles. and that you want to kind of think about when you're creating an exercise program for yourself. You probably have already done this kind of without thinking about it, but first you want to think about the frequency of cardio activity. So that's the number of days per week. The daily recommendation is actually, or the recommendation by ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine, is about 5 days per week of moderate activity. The intensity is the next thing. That's the difficulty of a single exercise session. The recommendation is, like I said, moderate intensity. And that's generally like a 6 to 7 out of 10 perceived exertion. So something where it's, it's intense. You're definitely like breathing hard. You should be able to still talk. You're not completely out of breath, but you are definitely working hard. So it's a pretty high intensity. Moderate level is what's recommended. The time, that's the length of time dedicated to exercise session. The recommendation is 30 minutes per session. Now, you could do more. You could do less also if you go a little higher intensity, but the basic recommendation is 30 minutes. The type, that's you want to choose the appropriate exercise to meet your individual cardio goals. So that can be influenced by, a doctor saying you need to do cardio activity, for your heart. Maybe you're training for some kind of sport or activity. So that's kind of how you choose. Maybe you want to be a better swimmer, so you're going to choose to swim on your own. The next thing is progression. That's the process of adding new challenges to an existing exercise program in a systemic way. This is like increasing intensity or time or changing the type of exercise. And finally, specificity. That's the principle that the more you engage in a specific form of physical activity, the more accustomed your body will become to this particular type of exercise. So again, that kind of goes with, choosing the type, specifying what you are trying to do. If you want to be a better walker, a swimmer, then you're going to be doing more walking or swimming. So these are just things to consider when you are thinking about your cardio activity. And one final thing that I didn't list here, but variability is also good. So if you have no specific fitness goals necessarily, other than, just staying healthy, then I would say, variety is really important. Having a variety of different types of cardio activity can be a really great way to stay healthy. And before we talk about the different kinds of cardio activity, one thing to note, cardio is all about the heart. And so it's important actually for everyone to know your max heart rate. That's how high your heart should be beating at its maximum. That means when you're working the hardest, right? And this is actually a number kind of based on your age. So the general equation is 206.9 minus 0.67 times your age. And so this is an equation you can do, or, if you want me to help you, I could always, help you figure this one out. But an example, if you're age 75, then your max heart rate's around 156.65. Age 85, 100, basically 150, 95, 143 beats per minute. So you never really want to exceed these numbers. If you do, that can be excessive stress on your heart. And really, your body shouldn't get past this level, but it's just something to keep in mind. And I have a picture here on the side of like a fitness watch or a heart rate monitor. These might be things especially if heart health is a concern of yours, something that you want to be mindful and improve. Getting some kind of heart monitor would be really beneficial. There are also machines in the gym. If you do cardio machines at the gym, typically also will show you your heart rate. But if you need any recommendations on a heart rate monitor of some type, I can also help you with that. But that's something, it's always good to be mindful of your numbers. And we were talking earlier about intensity and, moderate intensity. Moderate intensity will be somewhere in between zone 2 and 3. So between, like a 60 to 70%, actually. It's like zone 2 mostly, is where you generally want to do most of your exercise. And so 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. So for example, if you're 75, you generally want to keep your heart rate somewhere between 94 and 110, 85 between 90 and 105. If you're around 95, between 86 and 100. So those are the working values that are going to improve your heart health and not over stress it or anything. And these numbers, of course, can be monitored, like I said, with a heart rate monitor of some type, or using the machine's built-in device. And finally, just to kind of close everything off, I'm sure most of you already had an idea what cardio exercise is, but here's just a lot of examples. Of course, walking regularly is a really great cardio activity. That could also be hiking or running if you're able to. Hiking is really good in that it can cover different elevations and have a little more variability, which is always good for your muscles. Biking is good. Swimming or aquatic fitness in the pool is really beneficial cardio activity. Using the cardio machines, like in the gym, we have treadmills. We also have the new step machines. We also have a recumbent bike. Those are all really good cardio machines. You can take an aerobics fitness class, which has exercises that are getting your heart rate up, getting your breath rate up. And circuit training. So circuit training kind of falls in the middle category of both strength and cardio exercise, but it involves basically a series of strength exercises, but done fairly quickly, enough that your heart rate does come up and can be a very beneficial cardio exercise. So with that, do you have any questions on anything said? I can.
Yes.
And yeah, go ahead. And if you want, I can go to another slide if you needed, or I can just close this too.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Oh, is the maximum heart rate the same as the heart rate zone?
Yeah, so maximum heart rate is going to be like your zone 5. It's the far, and actually I'll go up really quick so you can see it. So your maximum heart rate relates to like a max zone 5, which you never really want to be working in. It just means it's just a number to have in mind of how you then gauge your ideal range, which is more of the zone 2. So zone 2 is 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. So you get the maximum heart rate number first, and then you get the percentage of that, let's say 70%.
To find your maximum heart rate, you take the 206.9 minus 0.7 times my age. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Minus 0.67 times your age. Exactly. Yep.
Okay. And then this number that you have to the right of those ages, what do they indicate? 156, 149, 143.
So that indicates that's basically just if you put 75 into the age number here, it's just the max heart rate for that age. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
So you can go up to 156 on the heart rate?
If you're, like I said, that's the maximum, but really you don't ever want to get that high. Ideally you want to stay much lower. So let's focus on like 75, for instance. The maximum is 156.5, which means you don't ever want to go beyond that, but really you don't even want to get up close to that. You want to stay closer actually to 94 to 110, because that's 60 to 70% of that maximum. So really the maximum, you shouldn't ever be doing an exercise that gets you up to the maximum or past the maximum. You want to be sticking much lower than that. Otherwise, you could be stressing your heart. And it's
my resting heart rate is always very high, anywhere from high 80s into the low hundreds. And if I continue to do the cardio, I should lower that. That should come down, correct?
Yeah. So it'll come down over time. It probably will go up, when you're exercising a little bit.
Yes.
And I would say, if your resting heart rate is pretty high like that already,
yes,
it would be beneficial to monitor it while you're doing exercise, just to make sure that it doesn't go up close to that.
Yeah.
Try to keep it low, try to only let it go up maybe, 10 to 20 beats per minute above, if that. Yeah.